Hey guys, Samuel the Aviator here. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the annual that was just done on our Piper Cherokee. I'm going to divide this video up into two parts. The first part is going to be kind of the work that was done on it, some behind the scenes footage of the work being done, how the plane looked when it was all torn apart. And then part two is going to be going over the figures, the numbers, the cost, what you guys are going to be looking forward to. This is going to be an honest video of what an annual inspection actually costs on a Piper Cherokee. Now, obviously, annuals vary a lot, so our cost might be thousands of dollars off of your cost if you would take a 1968 Piper Cherokee and get its annual done. However, people are very hesitant, it seems, to actually throw out real numbers and real experiences, and people don't really have any idea of the cost of what an annual does cost, what owning a plane costs, and I'm going to try and help with that a little bit. So like I mentioned, we're going to go over the first part first, and then in the second part, I'm going to be going over the numbers and what it costs, so make sure to stick around for that. Alright, so a couple things before I start on my list. I've got my list here of what work was done, or some of it. And I just wanted to mention a couple things. The first thing is, this was our first annual with our aircraft. We bought it last November, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but the annual was just done, and it was due in November again, I believe. Now again, I'm not sure. It might have been due in December. But anyway, so the annual was just done on this. It was our first annual, and we're fairly particular, and our mechanic is fairly particular. We want everything in tip-top shape, and if something's half worn out, we went ahead and replaced it or fixed it. So yes, the annual could be done cheaper. However, we believe in putting safety first and making sure that everything is in tip-top shape mechanically, and that's the most important thing of all. So it might be a little more expensive than what you would do, but like I said, we like to keep everything running perfectly and everything in tip-top shape. So I'm going to go over a little bit what we did on it. So I've got my paper here of the discrepancies noted that were fixed. First thing, and I might have mentioned it, the valve cover gaskets were leaking. We replaced all 4 of the valve cover gaskets, and that's fixed. There was some oil hoses in the engine that were seeping a little bit, and we went ahead and replaced those. The carpeet cable was worn just about through, and that goes from the carpeet control in the cabin to the carburetor. And we went ahead and replaced the carpeet cable, and we also replaced the cable connects to a little hinge rod in there. That was worn, and we went ahead and had that replaced as well. And we replaced some of the pins and assembly there on the cowling. I don't know if I have pictures of that or not, but basically where the cowling hooks together, there's just a little male and female end there, and the pins and were kind of worn out, so we went ahead and replaced those as well. It looks like on the list, the lower cowl intake boot was deteriorated, so I assume we went ahead and fixed that. It looks like we have some loose clamps on the engine mount. That's fixed. And there was also some spots of corrosion on the spinner back plate, and that was fixed as well. So that's about it for the engine and prop discrepancies. And then for the wings, the fuel cap gaskets were worn. We went ahead and replaced those. And then it looks like a couple other gaskets were leaking, and a couple rivets I know were popped on the bottom of the wing and on the belly. We went ahead and replaced the rivets. That's all fixed. And as I mentioned before, the tires were about worn to nothing, and they were also, the wear pattern was a little bit wrong on them. The inside, I think it was the inside of the tire, had more tread than the outside, so it definitely needed alignment. So we went ahead and replaced the tires and the tubes, and we also got an alignment done with some little metal shims. I'm not exactly sure how that was done. I wasn't there, but we went ahead and did the alignment, as well as new tires and tubes. So that's done. And then the brake rotors were 0.08 of an inch below minimum thickness, so we went ahead and replaced both of the main brake rotors. The pads were still good. I actually helped fix the brake rotors. I helped replace those, so that was very interesting, good learning experience for me. And then the tail the hinge was worn on the right side of the trim tab, and we went ahead and replaced the hinges and the pins in that, and it helped tighten it up. It's still not 100% perfect, but it's going to be a little bit worn, you know, that just with age, but that's a lot better. We also went ahead and cleaned and re-lubed the jack screw for the trim. Now the electric trim works perfectly, as well as the trim wheel goes a lot easier. So that was definitely the issue there. It says here the lower fairing was missing a fastener and material, and that was fixed. So I'm not sure what that was all about, but that's fixed. Belly's dirty. It doesn't look like he has that checked off, so we should still clean our belly, but we replaced some rivets. And then the antenna, a couple of the antennas were loose, and the sealant was kind of worn off on the exterior. So he went ahead and tightened up all our antennas and re-caulked those. So those are good. He treated areas of corrosion on the fuselage. Battery cable covers on battery box, and it looks like the rudder cable tension was low. He fixed that, and I know he went over all the tension of all the control surfaces, and the rudder was actually a little bit low. And it looks like he removed some old insulation in the spar area and replaced that. So that's what I've got written down here. I've also got another list. That was just his immediate list of discrepancies. I got another list here in my notebook that I'm going to go over a couple other things that we replaced and worked on. All right, so it looks like the only thing I missed on here was that we replaced the vacuum filter for the vacuum pump that runs our vacuum system. And I actually helped on that. That was interesting. It was up underneath the instrument panel. That was a lot of fun to do. And then we also replaced the engine air filter as well and put a new sock on that, I believe. So that's about all of the parts that we did. There might have been a couple things that I missed, but that's about the majority of it. All right, so now for a couple things that we actually did not address at the annual. So as you might know, and you may not know, but there is a wing spar inspection AD coming out for the PA28 series, and it might be for like the PA32 series as well. I'm not exactly sure on it. All I know is it does apply to our aircraft. And what it is, it's an inspection for corrosion on the wing spar, and you have to put a couple inspection plates on the bottom of the, I think it's the bottom of the wing, I'm actually not 100% sure. Now those were back ordered, we ordered them, they didn't get there in time for the annual to be done. So we went ahead and finished the annual without that being done because it does not take effect right away. There is a period of time that you have to get that done after the AD is out. So we're going to have that addressed in the future. And while we're doing that, we're also going to pull the fuel tanks out and reseal them. One fuel tank looks like it's leaking the slightest bit. So we're going to go ahead and reseal our fuel tanks, and we're going to put our inspection plates in, get the wing spar inspection done. And we're also going to put some corrosion prohibitor in the wings and everything like that. So we're probably going to have that done in a month or two. I'm not sure exactly on the date of that. So I guess you could roll that into the annual if you wanted to, since we could have done all of that at the annual. Nothing is, you know, extremely important for the airworthiness of the plane, so it wasn't done. But it does need to be done in the future, and I don't have an exact cost on that. If I had to guess, I know the wing access kit with the plates and everything was $250, and then there's labor on top of that. And then as far as the tank reseal, it could be a few $100 a fuel tank, it could be a lot more, I'm not sure. So like I said, I can't really mention how much that's gonna cost for sure. But I guess if you're keeping track, you could roll that into the annual a little bit. All right guys, let's head to the footage of the annual actually being done and the plane being apart and show you guys some of the footage of that, and then we're gonna hop right into the cost of everything, which I know you guys are really looking forward to. All right, so they're currently working on the engine right now, so I'm going to start actually at the back of the plane, which is a little backwards, but that's what I'm gonna do. So the first thing that needed done back here is the hinge rod, or the hinge right here on the stabilator trim. That one had a little bit of wear on it, and we wanted to replace that, so that's been replaced. Also, the jack screw here for the elevator trim is getting cleaned and lubed, and hopefully that's going to fix our stiff trim and the electric trim as well. All right, then working our way up over here, we have the wheels and hub assembly off, and I'll just go down here a little bit. So we actually replaced the tires and tubes on the main gear, and then repacked the wheel bearings, re-greased and lubed everything up, and we also replaced the brake rotors as well because those were worn down, and I'll show you what the old ones looked like in a little bit. But this is what it looks like with the wheel off and the brake off. And as you can see, that's our new rotor. Everything's cleaned up, shiny, and greased up. So, in addition to that, some of the work that we've done on the engine is it needed a new carb heat cable. The old one was about worn through, and it also needed a new control rod for the butterfly valve for the carb heat. That was worn as well. So we went ahead and replaced that. Some more stuff that we did on the engine, we replaced the valve cover gaskets because those were leaking, and we had tried a little while ago to just tighten up the screws and see if that would help, but they were still leaking, so we replaced all the valve cover gaskets, and hopefully that's going to fix up our oil leak issues. So I've got the invoice right here from the A&P, and I'm not going to show you guys the invoice just yet, just because that there's also more cost rolled into that than just on the invoice. This is just his labor and a couple parts he ordered. We ordered a lot of the parts ourselves. So I'm going to go over what we ordered, the cost of each part, and then I'll show you his cost for the mechanic. Then I'll tell you what the cost was with everything included so that you guys get an idea of that. All right, here's my list of the cost of all the parts that we ordered, and I'm gonna run through these real quick, and I'll have a total for you guys, so don't worry about keeping track of it. All right, so it looks like we got an air filter seal for $86, bracket air filter for $32, shop materials, that was $50, tires and tubes, that was $300, new carb heat cable, that was $156, and we got that carb heat shaft fixed, that was only $10 to get that fixed. Elevator hinges were 15 bucks a piece. We got 2 of those. Fuel tank gaskets was 5 bucks. The vacuum filter was $19.50. The hinge pin was $5.65. Filter sock, $3.25. Valve cover gaskets, $34. Brake rotors were $92 a piece for new rotors. And then the shims to do the alignment was $45. So that's the list of things that I've got here that we ordered ourselves. All right, then I've got our invoice right here for you guys to see. Annual inspection, miscellaneous repairs, 30 hours of labor at $50 an hour. That was $1,500. Now keep in mind that my dad went over quite a bit and helped him during the day and helped with the work being done. So that lowered our labor costs quite a bit. I'm not sure how much, but if you didn't help at all, it probably would be a little bit more. Now this was still more than I was expecting, but it was $1,500 in labor, and then his parts and material, which was just a couple small stuff, that was $168. So the grand total of his cost was $1,668. Then we have all of our parts yet to add up, as well as an IA inspection. The A&P cannot sign off on an annual, so an IA has to inspect that and all the work done and sign off on the annual. So I'm guessing that's going to cost us, let's just say, a couple $100 to be safe. All right, guys, now the moment you've been waiting for. The grand total of all the work done for the annual, everything included, was $2,660.30. So for the first year annual on this aircraft, it was quite expensive. It was definitely a little bit more than I was expecting. Not an extreme amount. It wasn't like $5,000 or anything, but I was expecting like 1,500 bucks at the most. And yeah, it was a little bit more than that. But it's still not terrible for first year annual. And I'm super excited to have that done and know that a couple issues that I wanted done were taken care of. So super happy about that. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to smash that like button. Also, if you want to follow my channel, I talk about basically all things aviation, videos like this. I also do some flight vlogs and everything in between. So if you're interested in aviation type of videos, go down below this video, click on the subscribe button, ring the bell next to that. You'll get notified every time I upload a new video. Also, feel free to drop down in the comments. Let me know what your annual cost and what plane that was on. I love to hear those stories, especially if you've got any interesting stories or any really scares that you had on your annual, or boatload of expenses or anything like that. I love to hear from you guys, so make sure to drop down in the comments below and let me know. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. Make sure to log on next week, next Monday, 9 a.m., and I'll have a new video out for you guys. See ya.